No debate, I've always hated this thing, always. This is going to be a little bit of a rant with this review. But with everything being said, I do want to give credit where credit's due. It's more usable than it's ever been, but to me at least, still, it has a steep hill to climb, a very steep hill, and overall, I don't get this. I've never got this. On light.gg, it's got a 4.2 out of 5 in the Crucible. A 4.2, just creeping up, just 0.8 off of a perfect 5-star weapon on the heels of, you know, Palindrome, which is a 4.6 in PvP? Seriously? A 4.3 in PvE? Guys, who's using this? Where are you at? There's no way. My last updated review went something like this. And to this day, Waking Vigil, it's widely viewed as like some great hand cannon. But this season, last season, I still haven't even seen the thing in the Crucible, haven't been down by it, never even seen it used. In PvE, no one's in the coil. No one in GMs are slapping on that good old Waking Vigil, not getting with fire teams for trials and say, yep, I'm going Waking Vigil. No one said no one ever. But this thing's rated so high, like, where are these players at? I'm gonna go over some new and old issues. But to be clear, this weapon is for a certain type of player. It is. That player will have use for it. I'm gonna go over that, but for me personally, and a lot of you out there, like with what it needs for PvP, I can't be bothered to go get it. If I look into it, great. If you do, try it. But in the end, I've always believed that this is just a bad weapon. PvE, it's got some use, but not for most. Reintroduced, again, Waking Vigil. An arc 140 RPM hand cannon. Originally, it was a lightweight 150. Then it went to a 140. With all the change to hand cannons over the years, it got a little bump, got a little love along the way. Then range was normalized within the sandbox. As a whole, those things helped it out, but not enough. We have an origin trait, advanced reflexes. It's actually pretty good. Upon taking damage from a target, quickly guard or ADS with this weapon to gain bonus mobility, handling, and charge rate for a short time. So that's a decent origin trait for this hand cannon. But I first want to start with the Crucible. Even with the range normalization, just out of the gate, pretty much all mid to the upper tier hand cannons, all of those pretty much have a perk over it, like Hammer Forged or Ricochet, or already a range masterwork or a stability masterwork, whatever it is. Because on an upper tier hand cannon, like let's take Palindrome. On the star scale, it's only 0.4 behind. For Waking Vigil, just to match the base of Palindrome, you would have to put on something like Small Bore and Ricochet. And that's still going to have 1 less range, but 2 more stability than the base of Palindrome. But you haven't even touched Palindrome yet. If you get, let's say, just a Reload Masterwork and Adept, the Adept stats go over it. And sure, there's handling, but remember, always remember, you can pull handling out of thin air, dexterity, armor, exotics, but you can't really pull range and stability and some of these other stats out of thin air. You can't. And then, of course, Ace of Spades, Thorn, a ton of other 140s. It's just extremely behind, and it always has been. Because if you were to get, let's say, that Ricochet Small Bore, that 49 range, that's only 30 meters, and everything eats that alive. I got a couple rolls, and in some cases right here, this is my first game with it. It's got 59 range, so 32 meters of fall off. It hits for a 68 at this distance. I'm thinking, okay, this is pretty nice. Maybe Waking Vigil, back on track. It's the hand cannon that everyone loves. I get it now. But then I played with it more. Most of the time, the majority of the time, especially versus those higher tier hand cannons, it's just awful. It is so awful. And this is the perfect clip of Waking Vigil. Perfectly showcases. This is versus Ace of Spades. As we know, Ace of Spades, high range, flinches you around, but this distance doesn't look or feel like a long distance long lane, right? Can we agree on that? This seems pretty normal. Well, my first shot lands for 59, not good. So instead of like sitting there dueling and strafing, I have to now walk forward and start strafing to get some of that damage back, and I do, but the second shot lands for 63. And at this point, the 3-tap is pretty much lost, because if I get close enough for a 70, it's going to be a coin flip if they match that resilience check. But the best part is this third shot. We know Ace flinches, yes. It's knocked me around a little bit, but this final shot is dead square. It even has the little red dot. From this point, 2 things happened. 1, somehow Ace flinched me off, or 2, what I believe, this thing's range is so bad, and it's something you don't really feel nowadays anymore, that there was an angle deflect as far as my accuracy, and it didn't magnetize the headshot. This shot landed for a body shot. This thing sucks. I'm sorry. Multiple gunfights, it's behind the 8 ball, multiple times it's outside of range, and after dealing with this, I got an opening shot roll, and ultimately, that's where it needs to be. This duel alone changed how this thing needs to be and what I would recommend. Not, oh, that would be nice, like it needs to be here. This roll is corkscrew rapid hit opening shot. It's got 47 range, but my first shot's opening shot. I hit for 70, but my next 2 follow-up shots hit for 63 and then 61. I get the 3-tap. Opening shot's the only way that this kill happens. It's the only way, because if that first shot hit for 63, that wouldn't have done it. Not 63, 63, 63, and definitely not 63, 63, 61. It had to be 70. It had to be opening shot. So, side note, 220 of the total 224 140 RPM hand cannons in the game do not have this issue. They don't. So for this thing to work, earlier I stated that it needs something very specific to hang, and I can't be bothered to go get it. You saw my reasoning. But even if I did get it, I have something better. It would need full bore, range masterwork, ricochet, perpetual motion, opening shot. Because if this roll lands, it's 67 range, 63 stability, 78 handling, 76 reload. Perpetual motion gets those stats up, negates what full bore that penalty was. And this is more presentable. I feel good about this. Or it would be rapid hit opening shot. There's also kill clip. That's going to help out with range technically, but it would be something like this. I think it's still awful for such a widely praised hand cannon it's never seen. User beware. Moving on to PvE as far as the main usage. I said that this is for a certain player. They will have a lot of use for this. There's only 4 volt shot hand cannons in the game. Waking Vigil is the most accessible. There's combined action. It's got a painful reload. You don't really want that. Nation of Beasts is awesome. Posterity is awesome. Both of those can have enhanced perks. Like for me, all day, every day, I take Dragonfly Volt Shot Nation of Beasts over this. Every single time. It also has Explosive Pack. You get bonus stability and reload speed when activating a grenade ability. And while using it in the coil, it did okay. And you have to remember with Volt Shot specifically, if you're using an arc sub, you're going to be amplified, so the reload is going to be there. But most of the time, especially this season, you're not going to be on arc. You're going to be on solar or something like that. So ideally, it's going to be Outlaw or Rapid Hit. Very, very easy. Outlaw is going to be the faster reload. Rapid Hit's going to be consistent, especially as you start getting in higher tier. Like at the end of the coil, it's going to take more hits to get the kill, but you're going to have a fast reload at the end of it. And ultimately, it's something that can't be denied because Volt Shot, obviously great for ad clear. It's great placing on a larger target, then repeatedly hitting them over and over, and then getting the ads around them. But it's also built-in overload, right? So there's a lot of utility with Volt Shot, and I'm not going to fault anyone out there at all for using a Volt Shot Waking Vigil. I'm not. Maybe you don't have access to Nation. Maybe you don't have access to Posterity. Can't raid. You want to get this. You do. That being said, though, you would need the use case of it being a hand cannon because there's the Ikelos SMG. If you would go pure ad clear with a lot of explosions, there's Centrifuge, there's Trinity Ghoul, and those are exotics. They're doing more damage in those activities. So there's some things to keep in mind. So for the scorecard overview in PvE, I give it a 2.5. And that's strictly and solely because of Volt Shot. I don't think it's this mythical, almost 5-star weapon in PvE. It's not. But for a lot of players, you have better Volt Shot weapons. You would just need the use case of it being a hand cannon. And some of you out there have the better hand cannon with Volt Shot. PvP, 1.5. It's not useless. Maybe if every map was Anomaly, but even then, hallway to hallway, it would still get absolutely crushed. It's still extremely far behind, and it's awful. Its main use is PvE. The fun factor, a 1. I'm not having any fun in PvP, and as far as PvE, it's a Volt Shot weapon. Plain and simple. Build flexibility, it's a 5. You can use it any character, any subclass. Its main usage is PvE Volt Shot. And the must-have score, I'm gonna put it a 1.5. Must you have this? I do not think so. The only case, the hand cannon with Volt Shot, but if you have better Volt Shot weapons as a whole, no. But if you need it just as a hand cannon with Volt Shot, then yes. So nothing's really changed from me, and I still don't get the ongoing support for this thing. I think that when it first came out as a 150 lightweight, it was really good. It was. And then it took a long time for them to update the stats, and then it took a long time for them to reissue, then reissue again. And at this point, so many things have come out and so much has changed with the game. It should have been sunset. If it's your favorite weapon, I apologize. But as much as this thing is just really talked about, I seriously never see it. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Waking Vigil down below. What you thought about it now, over the years? Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.